Hi everyone, welcome back, and on this episode we're going to be doing something a little different. So while Lisa's off camping, doing a solo trip away today, she's off with the Brisbane Jeep Club, I'm going to be installing a diesel heater into the camper. On our last trip, so our most recent trip, which was the Outback trip, we suffered in the cold. Partially because we were unprepared. It was not forecast to be quite as cold as it was. But also too, obviously, it is a canvas tent effectively on a trailer. That's how the campers are, and it does lose a lot of heat. So yeah, a lot of heat, so it gets quite cold, particularly at night. It was fine once you're in bed. It was just unpleasant to be sort of sitting around. It's not like you could sit around and just have a conversation, etc. And because we were also doing long days, so we were starting sometimes before the sun was up, and we were finishing sometimes as the sun had set. There's no real chance for the camper to heat up with the sun, etc. Like right now I've got all the windows open because it's actually quite a nice temperature in here today. So it just never got that opportunity because we were literally going from site to site to site. We weren't staying in the one place all the time. So I think that's where a diesel heater is going to be a huge advantage. We'll be able to turn it on, get it up to temperature. We probably won't sleep with it on. We'll probably just get it up to temperature and then be fine. And then we can always turn it on in the morning as well, just before we get out of bed. We'll go through the install. We bought probably one of the cheapest ones on eBay. It was $129. That was delivered as well. And it's an 8 kilowatt. And I'll go through the packaging with you in a second. But basically it's an 8 kilowatt, which is excessive for the size of the camper. But I figured because of the fact it's canvas, it doesn't keep a lot of heat. It doesn't retain the heat very well. We figured that we want something that's not going to have to work absolutely going at its limit, hoping to keep it nice and warm for us, and also to make it more pleasant for the girls when they're along with us as well, because they usually sleep down here where my feet are, and it's actually quite cold. So we're hoping it'll make it a bit more pleasant for the girls when we go camping as well. I'm just going to lay out what's in the kit and then give you a quick rundown of what I'm planning to do and where I'm planning to put it and what I'm trying to do. And there's a couple little tips that I picked up from some other install videos that are out there as well. So hopefully I can forward that onto you and make it a bit easier if you're going to do one of these as well. Alright, let's get into it. First of all, I thought I'd just explain where I'm thinking about putting it. So this is under the step, so as you come in the camper, and this goes up to the bed here, so this is just a step. But in the step itself, it's actually, it's a pull-out drawer that just pulls out to the side door there, and there's this big open space here. We didn't use the space productively, so I figured that's the most reasonable or best way to place it. The other thing too is that power actually already comes through here as well. So the power through to there, so I should be able to run the cabling back through to the battery, etc. a lot easier. I did actually consider putting it above the underneath the seat storage that sits above the back wheel. The problem with that is that it then means that you can have the exhaust, inlet, everything all coming out in the wheel well, and I'm worried about clearance and potential damage, etc. Directly under here, I'll show you in a second. It's right under a brace, and there's actually a little bit of protection. So what I'll do is I'll grab the camera and I'll show you underneath, and I'll give you an example. So this barrier is basically the back wall of that cabinet. So effectively the step sits between roughly here and about here. So as you can see even just from this trip how much damage the rocks cause all the way through here. It's just peppered all the way through. So I'm conscious of the fact that it's going to be obviously, you've got exhausts hanging down, you've got filters, etc. So I'm figuring if I can have it come out here, I can have the exhaust mounted. Actually, I'll probably mount the exhaust this side, and I can also have the air filter, etc. And it will just be protected a lot more from the rocks. So the advantage of having this here and here, it's going to give protection. I may, if it's a little bit more exposed, I might look at potentially even fabricating an additional piece here, even a piece of basic metal that just basically goes down here, almost acts like a little plate like that, just across there. So that's something I can look at if I think it's still exposed. Okay, so this is it. 8 kilowatt diesel heater, 129.95 from eBay. That's Australian, so very simple. Inlet, outlet, and then you've got exhaust. I can't remember which side I have to work that out, but you've got exhaust and inlet, or whichever way it works. So that draws from underneath the camper. So that obviously this is why you can run them when you're asleep in the van, because obviously there's no gases coming into the camper. Basically there's a fuel as well, so basically just underneath you can see to set up. To actually get in and service the unit, you still need to be able to undo that, so it's got to be factored when you actually do the install. You've got to make sure you've got the right spot. That cover comes off, and then you've got the unit there. So you've got things like your glow plug there, and there's no filter, because the filter is actually underneath the camper. The filter actually is that there. So that's actually for the filter, which obviously goes into the actual internal combustion engine. And basically there you've got your main board. So your main board here, obviously the main part of your actual piston, etc., and your actual diesel motor there. So really basic, really simple, and I'm hoping that they're as good as everyone says. The one thing I have seen is obviously you can go through and replace bearings and stuff like that as well. And the one point of failure can obviously be glow plugs. So once again, not particularly expensive. So underneath you have a rubber bung which goes on there, just helps with noise and insulation, etc., stuff like that. Obviously it's not set up, I'm just showing you. And then the actual base plate. So this base plate here is designed to be hard mounted to the camper, and obviously this goes through, get it the right way, it helps. Basically goes through the bottom of the camper. Okay, so this mounts on. The one thing I have seen is everyone says mount this, which makes sense. Mount this all up beforehand, and then screw it to the actual camper, so that way you're actually just doing it. You're not trying to mount everything this from underneath, which is quite challenging. What I have done though is on the advice of and watching some other videos, a couple of bucks from Bunnings or any hardware, it's just a collar. Basically it's about 105-ish mils, 106 mils. Basically what you do is you use a hole saw, which I've set to go out and buy some new ones, for metal. So basically that goes through the floor, and then this way when everything sits in there, it sits in there like that, so it sits much tidier. So it means that everything's all clean and tidy. But more importantly, what I can actually do, or what I'm hoping to do, is with this, it's nice and flush, so it shouldn't actually make any difference to the mounting to the floor. Particularly for dust is a big thing for us. I mean, we've had so much dust through from this last trip. But what I will do is I will run some Sikaflex all around this as well, so it just gives it as best chance of seal as possible. And then I will do the same with this as well. When I mount this through onto here, I will run bead of Sikaflex around there as well. I'm using automotive Sikaflex too, not just standard stuff, so it's actually designed for heat, etc. And it'll actually hold. That's the plan for underneath. So you do get with this kit, you get two vents. So two of these vents which you can take apart, and then obviously you get lots of piping, and you do actually get the T-piece as well. So the idea of this is you can actually run two outlets on it. I'm a bit tight on space, I'm not sure I'm going to have room. Plus also what I do want to do is, because of the way this is set up underneath, I'd like it to be able to draw air from in the camper. So I'm thinking I may just use one of these purely and simply as an actual air inlet, just allowing it to draw air into that space through this, so that it's not trying to draw, it's not working harder to draw through the gaps. And also too, more importantly, it's not going to suck anything from outside, it's just drawing heat, hopefully warm air from inside the camper and recirculating. So once again, just about efficiency. So that's what I'm thinking will happen there, but I'll wait and see once I actually start getting into the actual install and see how it looks. If there is a way to do too, we may look at doing that just purely and simply to give us some more heat in here and spread it around a bit more. Also forgot to mention, the one thing I've also done is I've got a little switch. I get a little bit of a range anxiety with batteries. I like the idea of being able to switch it off when we're not using it, so there's no draw, whether it be even just something as simple as a draw to the LED screen. I just would rather be able to switch it off, just permanently cut it off, and just turn it on when we want. Because obviously in summer, etc., we're not going to use it, so I do like the idea of having that separate. So okay, so one of the things I don't talk about is that I'll show you in a second, but you've got to take the actual whole unit out of here, and you've actually got to slip the power cable that goes through to your pump. Basically, when you do it, it ends up sitting there hard against the inlet manifold, which is also, it's effectively joined to the exhaust manifold. So there's going to be a fair bit of heat there, so I'm not keen on that. So all I've done is I've just cut a very simple notch there. I'm not sure if you can see it. So just notch, and I'll show you once I've got it all back together how the cable just sits in there. And that's actually what, sorry, just lost the plate. So that's actually what comes out of this part here. So when that's on the bottom of the exhaust, you've got the exhaust here, the inlet here, this one here is the fuel, and then this sits at the front. Where it was before, it basically sat there like that, and there was nothing there behind it. It was just a piece of plastic. So what it did is it actually, it just put the cable hard against the metal. So it's up to you how you do it. I just want to do that just to give it a bit of extra clearance and just to safeguard the wires for a little bit longer. So now you can see, basically it sits up top. So it sits, well, in theory, sits up out of the way. Hopefully you can see that. So it just sits up in this little notch, up like that. So it's out of the way. Another thing as well too, obviously there's a little rubber grommet here that holds the cables in. So this here, the grommet goes into the cables here. What they don't actually do is that there's a blank out this side, so it's just a solid blank. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim that up so that it allows to hold that in place so it just sits out of the way. Once again, it's just about trying to keep it nice and tidy. Now it sits much further forward away from the intake manifold. Not much, just something little. I think now it's just a matter of measuring up, and then the hardest part's always the first part, which is traditionally is cutting holes in your camper, which is always not the nicest feel. You always get pretty nervous when you do it. So let's get into it, eh? Everything's marked out, worked out exactly where we're going to drill. I've measured again, and the worst part is that first hole. So, alright, well here goes nothing. Okay, fits in there nicely. The only thing I did forget to do is I forgot to show you, I ran some paint just around the where I'd cut it. The hole was actually a lot harder to get through than even I expected, even with a brand new hole saw. Every installation I've seen has been in caravans and there've been wooden floors. Obviously with this being a camper it's a metal floor, so it was actually considerably harder to get through than I was expecting. But hey, it's all done. That's the part I was dreading the most, so it's all completed. Hopefully it all works okay. That's a bit concerning when you can do that to your camper. And this is over the top. There's a reason why these are cheap. Wow. That's better. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out ducting. I've decided I'm just going to use some louvers over here, just for allowing the vent to go in instead of having to use one of these. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to run one of these here, run one of these here. Just gives us 2 outlets. This here obviously keeping the cold air out as the door opens, and then this one here particularly good for the girls, not directly on them but close to where the girls sleep, just to keep them as warm as possible. The only problem is there is some cabling through here, so I need to see how much I can get them down. Otherwise I can just put it up in the corner, which is right up the corner here, which means it'll sit, you know, down here. So just a matter of working out exactly what's going to work best for the routing. So I'm going to run one across here, and then I'll run one across to the front here.
We might just have to rewrap this way, reroll this way.
As you can see, the cross member supports and also protects the exhaust and the intake manifold. This section is really important. You need to angle the pump at a certain angle, otherwise it won't work. I ran the fuel line down the side and then also through an existing hole at the front. Small hole in the bottom of the front boot, and ran the fuel line into there, and then actually put the actual fuel container inside the front boot. Did that mostly just to protect it from weather. So you can set it between speed, as in you can set the speed of the fan, so that changes to what actual speed you want it to be, or you can change it to temperature, which basically just allows you to actually set the temperature you want it to maintain, and it will turn on and off as it needs to for that temperature. So it makes it nice and simple. So it's just turn it on, turn it off, and then I've got the kill switch as well, which is just to the side. This is what a diesel heater sounds like now. This diesel heater has been on most of the night, so just to give you an idea of sound. You even stand this distance away, I can't hear it at all. I can hear the birds, but I can't hear it at all. So look, overall, absolutely wrapped with it. It's one of the best things we've ever done. It's certainly changed our winter camping. This is our first winter camp for this year, and we actually forgot quite a few things, especially some of the warmer clothes. So look, we find it's a winner for us, and it's definitely any camper or caravan we have in the future, we will definitely have one of these. And for the cost of them, they're a no-brainer. If you've got a van or a camper, anything like that, do it. It's the best thing you'll ever do. It'll change your winter camping. For the girls, for us, it's just so much more pleasant at night. Even especially on those nights are really cold and you can't, even the fire's not warming the place up. You can retreat inside and it's like you've got the AC on. So it's really, really good. Definitely 10 out of 10 as far as product goes. I'm not going to say this specific product is just the one I bought. So I have no affiliation or anything like that with brands, etc. There's tons of these out there, and to be honest, they all look identical, just different. They're obviously all coming from the same place, that people are just selling it differently. The instructions are even the same, so I don't think you can go wrong. My suggestion is give it a crack. They're not expensive. It just takes a little bit of fiddly bits to fit them up, but once you've got them fitted the way you want them, it's going to be amazing. So go for it. 2 thumbs up. See ya.